So we're going to talk about understanding and getting to know your self-value or your self-worth. So we'll start off with a prayer and we'll get into it. We'll see what Spirit brings to us today. Heavenly Father of all that is, thank you so much for this gathering and open each and every one of our hearts to receive the messages that each one of us needs for our personal growth. Bless each and every one in the universe. Hold the ones that are going through rough times in the palm of your hands. And we ask that the people that are going through the flood stages and all the transformation in their lives of the tearing down of all the strongholds, to know that sometimes these things have to take place so that you can move in and bring them and open up and bring in new energy for their life so that they can move forward. Bless the ones that are sick and keep them strong. Raise them up in health. And we ask that you bring in knowledge to the people to be aware of their surroundings and that we're all connected to everything so that they can nourish the trees, the grass, and Mother Earth. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Song?
Yes.
You are who you've been looking for. So stop looking for more unless you're looking in a mirror, because it's about time for you to see clearly that you are who you've been looking for. And that empty feeling you got, that hole in your chest, you only got that feeling because you think you're not blessed with everything you need. You see, we live in a consumerist society, which means they need you to buy stuff. And the easiest way to sell it is to tell you you're not enough. Buy this car, you'll get girls. Buy this bra, you'll get guys. And we're seeing it so much that we start believing these lies, but the truth is, the makeup they're selling to make you feel prettier is the same makeup you buy to stop feeling shittier about this lie they keep telling you that you are not enough.
Hi, how are you?
The movies we watch, all the shows on TV, the more I watch, the more I see I need you to complete me. And yes, love is the answer, love is the key, but if you can't love yourself, how can you ever love me? And loving yourself, what does that even mean? Like massages and selfies and that sort of thing? Because the more I think about it, the more it feels weird. I've always been taught that self-love was something to be feared. I'm supposed to love myself, but how do I even do that? Well, I got a trick that I picked up from a friend who noticed that I was quick to defend her when she would say something negative about herself. She would say, "I'm so dumb," and I'd say, "You're so brilliant." She'd say, "I'm so weak," and I'd say, "You're so resilient." And when she said, "I feel ugly," and I said, "You look beautiful," she asked me why I was so dutifully filling up her cup constantly and yet treating my own cup so irresponsibly. Because when I looked in the mirror, my voice was quite clear. You're ugly, you're too thin, your hairline's receding, you got a pimple on your chin. And that was when she gave me a piece of advice that changed my life. She gave me a hug. And she said, "Treat yourself like someone you loved." Treat yourself like someone you loved. Now, I had been standing, but I needed to be sitting because I couldn't believe that I had been letting myself keep forgetting that I was who I'd been looking for. And deep in my core, I knew it was time to stop looking for more until I could look through all my fear and look into a mirror and see clearly that the man looking back at me was the only one who can make me happy, and I am already enough. And I am not any more special or unique than you. That is why I'm here to speak to you. You are already enough. And when you start to see that, you will start to be that. Your world will get brighter, your load will get lighter, and you can see that with life. You can be a lover, not a fighter. And that life, you deserve it. Because you are worth it. And there is no point in letting yourself keep forgetting, because no matter what you say or do, you are perfect. And so today, I hope I leave you with a direction correction away from the flaws you see in your reflection. They aren't flaws to me, they are simply protection against all the doubts you have of your perfection. So start today. Take a good, long look in the mirror and say, I am who I've been looking for.
How much do you love yourself? Because if you understand the value of self-love, you'll never be friends with those type of people. Most of the people out here are running around empty. They have no sense of self. No sense of self-love. When I say self-love, it has nothing to do with celebrity, money, materialistic things, and all of the things that your negative mind could probably go to. It has nothing to do with self-love. It has nothing to do with looks. Nothing to do with cars and any of the superficial things that one would assume that could make you love yourself even more. It's a matter of knowing your value. It's a matter of you saying, I don't have to be around these people in these type of environments and situations in order for me to finally see the value in myself. I love me independent of you loving me. I believe in me. I know my self-worth. I am here and I have a purpose. There is no value in having wisdom, knowledge, insight, spirituality, love. Every day, I am a work in progress.
A person who can forgive nothing is a person who's totally destroyed psychologically and emotionally. Forgive your parents. Forgive any relationship that you ever had that didn't work out. Forgive everyone else in your life that has ever hurt you in any way.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different.
I think for myself, and I know many of you, you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you. Not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different. And when I got that, I think it took me to the next level of being a better person, because I don't hold grudges for anything or any situation, and neither should you. It's letting go so that the past does not hold you prisoner, does not hold you hostage.
See, life is cyclic. You're not, whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Not to stay, just to pass. It's just going through. The biggest challenge is to know what's happening. This is a part of this thing we call life. This too shall pass. And maintaining perspective, putting it in perspective. Let it go and begin to focus on developing myself. And I say to you, you're going to have people to do things to you. Things are going to happen to you. And the most important thing to do is to harness your will and let it go and move so you can grow, so you can get on with your life. It doesn't matter about what happens to you. What matters is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do now, Les? But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, if you want to begin to really enjoy a happy, successful, healthy life, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will. So as you're in the process of reinventing your life, write a description of the kind of person that you want to be. What are the things that you must overcome? What qualities about your personality you know that you're going to have to change, because those particular characteristics are liabilities to you? What are your assets? What are your strong points? Look at and evaluating yourself to make that determination. Other thing is that in order to get out of a rut, we need some coaching. Find some trusted critics. People that you know care about you and love you. So there's some things that keeps us from growing and getting out of ruts. Number one, we identify with feedback. We take it personal when someone wants to give us some feedback on where we are falling short and tell us about our blind spots. We want to have everything being positive about us. We're not perfect. It hurts. I have a friend who's a trusted critic. I don't like him, but I love him. He doesn't tell me the things I want to hear. He tells me what I need to hear so I can grow. It hurts. It hurts when he put me on the hot seat. I can't stand it. But that's the only way that I can grow. And I'm glad that he loves me enough to risk our friendship to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear.
Stop scaring yourself. How often do you terrorize yourself with your own thoughts? You get into absolute terror, and it's only coming from your thoughts. Nobody out there is doing a thing. Sometimes it's an old family pattern. Sometimes we get new things. I would like people, when you have time, to make a list of your fears. Make a list of your fears. And then give yourself the opportunity to turn each fear into a positive affirmation. Turn each one into something positive. And remember, always you are in charge. You are always in charge. See, one idle thought doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Thoughts are like drops of water. You drop a drop of water, and it doesn't mean much. But if you keep dropping and keep dropping, you get a puddle on the floor, and then you can get a little pond and a lake, and finally you can create an ocean. And with our own thoughts, we can drown in a sea of negativity, or we can float on the ocean of life. And it's up to us. The thoughts we think accumulate. And what sort of puddles are you standing in? Or are you up to here? Or are you up to here and trying to paddle? You know, what are you doing to yourself? When we're willing to change our thinking, we can change our experiences. And it doesn't matter if you've got a big puddle of negative thoughts. You know, you can move over here and create a puddle of mindfulness, positive thoughts. You can make changes, always. So you want to turn those fear thoughts into positive affirmations. Let them work for you.
So good. All yours, Shahwin.
All right. So that was some kind of heavy stuff, right? And this is exactly what all of us, I believe, are going through right now at this moment in our emotional self. And the very last part about the water, you know, having a thought and it making one little drop of water in you. It reminded me so much about when I talked about being a tree and standing out of the water instead of drowning in the water. Because that's what we're doing to ourselves emotionally, because we're not in awareness of how we are sabotaging our own self through our thought process. And so each one of us do it because we are not perfect, and you will beat yourself up. So that's why the lesson today was about your self-worth and what your value for yourself is and how you feel, what is your value? Because none of us want to hurt ourselves, but how many of y'all have really done that? I can raise my hand. I know I beat myself up very bad. So I think it's time for us to change that type of thinking and reinvent with awareness what we're, so we can pay attention to how our thought process is beating us up inside. And that's why I called this class Harnessing Your Will, because when you're in awareness of that, then you can start really working on it. And so in that little thing that we were watching, there was things that he said to do, which I actually started doing last week. So the very first thing he said to do was write down a description of the person that you want to be. How do you see yourself? Really, you need to look and say, how do you see yourself? When you're by yourself, and have time to really think about it, write a description of how you see yourself. Because sometimes we can see ourselves in a bad light, especially if you're a mom. You can say, oh, I was a horrible mom. Well, you don't want to be, you don't want to stay in that type of thought process. You need to change it into, I did the best I could at the time it happened, because it's in the past. So you need to let it go, and all we have is this moment and this minute to live in. And so that's where you have to reinvent your thoughts. What are you doing right now? Well, you're thinking about the past, so you're stuck, right? You're stuck in the past instead of in the moment of today. So how are you going to bring joy and happiness into your day if you're stuck in the past? The second thing that he said that I thought was really good was to, what are the things that you must overcome? So when you're looking at yourself and giving yourself a description of what you want to be, all these thoughts that have held you back. I'm not good enough. I'm not a good mother. I'm lazy. Everything that yourself tells you. Those are the things that you want to write down in that question there that you want to work on to overcome. And remember, in the past lessons that we had, the best way to overcome something is to find the opposite of it. So if you're sad, find something that makes you happy. Find a equal positive reaction to that to overcome it. But we also talked in past lessons that to be able to overcome something, you have to become aware of it first, right? And the best way to overcome it and become aware of it is to write it down and look at it. Because only you know how you feel. Nobody else can do that for you. So the third one was write the qualities about your personality that you know that you have to change. And I found one of my personality things that I need to change is I like to hide. When I get upset, I like to hide. And I don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to hide and try to let it, smooth over a little bit before I address it, which sometimes you have to do that. But the more you do that, it becomes such a habit and a pattern for you that the next thing you end up having to do is break that pattern cycle that you put yourself in. And one of mine, I think I discussed last week with y'all was, so I didn't have to deal with my daughter as much. I ended up in the bed, and I stayed in the bed for a whole year, didn't I? Not feeling good. Oh, I'm not feeling good, so I'm gonna go to bed. And without realizing, that I was creating a pattern, it made a bad pattern in me. So right now I'm trying to break that pattern, because every day I have to, every day, this is no lie, every day I have to go, get up. You don't have to stay in bed, you're not sick. But it became a pattern, and it was a way that I was coping with things because I didn't want to address them. So for me on this one about what qualities of my personality do I want to change, that is one of mine that I want to change. I do not want to run away from it anymore. I want to address it immediately and know that it's going to be okay. The fourth one that he said on this was, what are your assets? So what is the best things about you that you know? Well, I know I'm a good listener. I know I can help people that are feeling sad and blue, because I've been there, done that. So you list your good qualities about yourself. I'm a very good house cleaner. So like when you are not in your proper place you need to be, the first thing that's going to show is those qualities about you are going to be lacking. So like this whole last year, like I said, I hid in the bed. Well, so did my housework. So, my housework didn't get done like it used to. So, so to change that, of course, I got up and started cleaning my house properly again. And it makes you feel good when you do that. Because, that's part of your quality that you like about yourself. And you realize, wow, I really let myself go, not realizing it, because you don't realize it until it happens to you. So you list your assets, and then the fifth one is, what are your strong points? That's a little bit different than your assets. But your strong points are what? Your strong points is what you really, truly, in your belief system, believe, and you can stand in that truth of them. And that's what makes you strong, so that you can get out of that old pattern. So that's partly what I'm doing right now. Every day is I'm standing up and going, no, you're not going back to bed. You have things to do, because within inside yourself what your strong points are. So it might take a few minutes when you're writing these down to find those strong points, but this is how you're going to learn about your value and your self-worth about yourself, because it's all wrapped up in your self-esteem. Okay, and the next thing is find a support group. Now, does a support group mean like more than one person? It doesn't have to be more than one person, but it's gotta be somebody that you really truly trust to be able to tell you, I don't think you're doing that right. So it doesn't hurt your feelings because, when people tell you stuff that truly love you, it can hurt. The truth hurts sometimes. But when you look back on it, you'll really truly be very thankful for having that person in your life to be able to have told you that at that time because it makes a big difference when you look back on it. How many of y'all at this time have a person like that in your life? Good. No, Pam? You don't? Well, you got me. You got Rodney. You got Elizabeth. You got Leo and Colleen. So see, okay, you need to write that down on your assets too, because who are the people that you can depend on, that you can come and talk to when you really, really need somebody to talk to, and know that they're not going to take that information and harm you with it. Because there are people that will take that information and harm you. So you have to be careful of that too. So don't ever feel like you're alone, because Pam, you're not alone. That's why you're here in this class. You met a family when you came to this class. We're not going nowhere. We're all here together, learning and understanding that we all have the same feelings. Do we go through the same thing at the same time? No. And maybe the reason why we don't is because if we were all going through it at the same time, we wouldn't have anybody to talk to help support us, to bring us out of it. But each and every one of us go through the same thing for the lessons, just not at the same time. And the more that you find somebody to talk to, you'll start realizing that the things that you're experiencing, that other person is kind of going through the same thing. So you have somebody you can talk to about it and go, wow, yeah, I'm going through that too. But that's building your support group, because you gotta have a support group. Gotta have somebody. You can't do this by yourself, and you have to be able to allow them to speak their truth and tell you what they see, even if it feels hurtful to you. But through these classes, you've learned how to separate that, right? Because usually when our feelings get hurt, it's because we're not willing to change. We're not really willing to look at ourselves and see, hey, can I change this? Now I'm going to make a point now too. You can have some people that will like slam base you and tell you, how bad you are. And in your heart, that's not true. That has happened to each and every single one of us. It's happened to Rodney. It's happened to me. Well, that's what I call the trickster. Because sometimes the trickster does come in and tries to throw you off track. And you have to, when you are working on yourself, you'll be able to handle that and not allow it to upset you, because you'll see that it's the trickster trying to create emotions in you that are not yours. So that's when you just throw up the hand and say, thank you for that information. I'm sorry you feel like that. That's your feelings, not mine. So I'm not going to own it. And those are all big lessons to learn within inside ourselves, because there are people that are going to come in and say stuff that's going to upset you or that you don't agree with. But if you don't own it, because that's their feelings, not yours, you won't get so upset. And if you do get upset, then you need to get a piece of paper out and sit down and ask why to yourself, why did I get so upset about this? What upset me? So that you can actually see in your own awareness, what part did it hit you at to make you feel like you were unworthy? Because that's what they were trying to do. Do you understand what I'm saying, Rodney? Because we kind of experienced that the other day, didn't we? You know, without naming names, because it doesn't matter. Those names are just labels. It was the energy that was coming at us. And see, remember, like I tell you, everything is energy. And when you learn that it's energy, energy is always moving, energy is always changing. So it cannot always stay the same. And once you really understand that, you will be able to go through the hard times a lot easier because it's only there for a short period of time. It has to change. And you know, it says that in the Bible, you know, that it comes in seasons. So if you can hang in and understand this only happens for just a short period of time. And see, at the end of what we were watching, at the first, it was talking about the puddles of waters. You know, each thought could become a puddle of water. Well, how many of y'all have done that to yourself where you're living in the ocean of puddles of waters that you created with your thoughts? I'll wave my hand, I was drowned in it. But guess what? I created a surfboard and now I'm riding the waves, you know, and now I really truly understand when I'm in that water so that I can pick myself up and get out of the waves of it. And so it's quite interesting. You just have to pay attention to yourself and see, are you in the water or are you on your surfboard? Yeah. And that's reinventing the way you look at things too. One of the things that I thought was interesting in that video this morning too was the guy mentioned that we identify personally with another person when we're talking about things. And truly we really do, because when you're talking to another person, you're wanting them to agree with how you feel. You know, you're wanting them to, you know, say yes, because that's what we're needing with inside ourselves at the time. So you want to really work at acknowledging how you feel when you're talking to people. But that's what good friends are for, because when you're having a bad time, those friends can pull you out of a rut. And sometimes you do fall in that rut because our thoughts do that to us. If you're in sadness, or if you're in, you know, saying you're not feeling good about yourself, then you've fallen in that rut. Or let's just say, like Leo says, you have got yourself stuck in the tar. The TAR, you're stuck in that tar. So sometimes you can't get out of that tar unless you have a friend that help you pull you out. And that person knows that you're stuck in the tar too, and they say, hey, let me help you pull yourself out of this. And that's kind of what we're creating with this group, that when we're talking about all of this, because every single one of y'all that are on this group, I know even without asking, that if any one of us needed to talk to somebody, we could call anybody on this group and they would talk to us. You know, and you wouldn't have to worry about then going to somebody else in the group and saying, oh, did you know so-and-so called me? You know, because they're having this problem. That wouldn't happen because, unless they needed more help, you know, unless they couldn't really help you get out of the tar. But see, we're all in awareness where we don't have to do that. We can pull each other out of the tar just by sending a smiley face sometimes on your phone, especially when you know they're not feeling well. And we might all need to do that for Redbird today because she's not feeling well. That's why she's not here. You know, so at some point we need to get everybody's phone number so that we can reach out and really start connecting the groups to get the people together so that we can talk to one another. And so we can be able to text little smiley faces saying, thinking about you, we missed you in classes today. You know, because I think that's important. That makes you feel good, you know, and when you're sick, it definitely helps you raise your vibration level to not feel so sick anymore, you know, and it's all about vibration. We've talked about that many times in class too. But the biggest thing is learning to know your value. So, one of the biggest things I'm learning right now, and I realized the other day that I got very angry, not at the person, but at myself because I realized I couldn't say no. How many people have been like that? Where you've been in a predicament and you go, all right, but I mean, you're dredging, like just doing it. And the more, and as you're going over there to do it, you're just angry because you have to do it. And then you come home and you go, why was I so angry? And you realize it was because you were angry at yourself because you could not say no. So part of the stuff that I'm learning for myself is I'm going to learn how to say no. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet either because, you know, we're a work in process, right? But one of the things about learning about your self-value is really truly realizing that you do not have to be around people or types of environments or situations to find value in yourself. That's not where you find the value. And some of the environments and situations can be very harmful for you. You know, so why are you putting yourself in there? What are you getting out of it? Where you're trying to find your self-value. And I don't know who I was talking to about this last week, but we were having a conversation about the homeless people on the side of the road, and stopping and helping them. And and saying bless you. And not, you know, you get into such a pattern of saying that. What does it really truly mean? What are you really doing? Are you giving yourself a pat on the back and saying, oh, I helped that helpless person, so I did my good deed for the week. I don't have to do another good deed anymore. I mean, think about it, because it's become a pattern in a lot of people. And I think it was Elizabeth. Was it you? Me and Elizabeth were talking about that. And so really, truly think about, what does it mean to say bless you? When you go past somebody and say bless you, What are you sending out to that person or to the universe? Or has it become a habit? Just so that it can make you feel good and say, well, I did my best because, I blessed them today.
Just words.
So you need to pay attention. Wake up. Know your worth, Are you just doing it to make yourself feel good? That ain't self-worth. That's feeling like a hole in yourself. And then you got to fix that hole and really fill it in with your worthiness and your true self. Find your authentic self, find your purpose. Going through all of this process, you will find your purpose and you will find the value, because you're going to say, hey, you're going to learn to say no like me. I'm not going to do this to put myself in this type of environment that makes me feel less than who I am, because you're just important as the other person. But it's a very fine line because you have to make sure that pride doesn't come in there and your ego, that you're really doing it for your self-value, that you're not doing it to be in control of anything, because it's a very fine line. So it's something strong. It's really something to look at and be cautious of. It's just interesting how easy we can become off balanced by thinking that we're doing good things, but we're really not. We're doing more harm to ourselves. One of the other things that I thought was really good in this video that was watched is, I had never looked at this like this, and I thought it was quite interesting for me. It said, I love me independent of you. Now, I want y'all to think about those words and what that means to you. I love me independent from you. And then he added, from you loving me. Okay? Because there's a difference. You want your children to love you, right? I love to use the kids because that's some of my lessons right now is my children. But you want their love. And so when they're not giving you the love that you think you deserve from them, you're taking on their emotions. Those aren't your emotions, because your emotions should be, I love myself independent of you. So where's your self-worth? Where's your value? That was very big for me to learn, because I was taking on my children's feelings about things. Okay, but it wasn't me, because I do love myself independently of how they love me. But I had never really become aware and took the time to be aware of that. But once I started becoming aware of my value, my self-worth, and how I loved myself independently from the way they loved me, it really made a big difference, because then I started realizing that I was taking on their emotions as my own when they weren't mine. They were my children. And that's part of the reasons why I can't say no. Because I was running on that energy level of their emotions instead of my own. Does that make any sense to you of what I'm saying? I mean, I want y'all to really, take a look at that and see how do you truly, truly love yourself independently from anybody else? Because that's where your self-love is going to come from, and your self-worth. It doesn't come from somebody else saying, hey, I love you. It comes from within you. And I believe we're all at that point right now in where we're in our learning process, that we're truly learning how to love ourselves independently of other people, and independently of how they feel about us, independently on how they treat us. And when you can do that, that's where your core value of yourself comes. Okay? But also, that's when you pull them skeletons out of the closet, because you have to look at yourself and say, yes, I need to change that about me, because that's not a good, you know, I wasn't perfect, and I'll never claim to be perfect. I'll never claim to understand everything either, because this is what is, I'm learning just like you are every day. And some days, and I told Elizabeth this last night when I was talking to her, when she's ready, she's gonna come in and do a lesson for us. It's not gonna be me. And each and every one of us might do that. Because y'all got stuff to show and teach too, of things that you've learned. And that's what it's about. It's about sharing, caring, and love. You know, and each one of us has and plays a part in the whole. And that's what makes it, that is what makes unconditional love. If you can share your life wholly, your feelings, and trust other people, you know, not to bash you down, you've come a long way. You know, that's unconditional love. And that's what we're bringing forth into the planet of Earth right now. Are you going to get some people that bash you? Yeah, I call them the trickster. And they're going to come in and they're going to try to really touch and push them buttons to make you mad. But see, you and only you, through your will, okay, because we have free will, can choose to have that emotion. And that's a big key. When you choose, because you're the only one that can choose to be mad, you're the only one that can choose for yourself to be depressed, to be angry. When you actually truly realize that, it's going to change the game, and I'll just call it the game. It's going to change the game, because you're going to be able to stand up on the truth, which is your value and self-worth. And you're going to take off. But no, if you take off running, you're going to fall down. And you might fall down several times before you get it right. Hey, we're not perfect, but we're learning, right? And that's what it's all about. And it's about connecting with the same people that believe the same things, that want the same things, because we are all connected, but everybody has a piece of the puzzle to bring into the picture. And once all the puzzle pieces come together, guess what? You're going to see the whole thing and go, oh my goodness, because it's a beautiful thing. And everybody can be different, as long as you know your self-value and your self-love and your self-will within inside yourself. You're going to spread that to other people, whether they're ugly to you or not. Now, one thing that you will do is, if you see that they're not ready to change, because some people aren't ready to change, then you won't spend a lot of time trying to help them. You'll just go on and say, you'll go on to the next person, because you'll say they're not ready for that yet. And you won't waste your energy. But what will happen is Spirit will put those people in your pathway. You'll know. You'll just know. And people ask me, how do you know things like this and that? You just know. Trust me, Spirit will tell you. You just know. And it's from all the hard lessons that you've had to go through for yourself to find your self-will and your self-worth. And it's a very interesting journey. I always call it an adventure. So I hope y'all are on that adventure too, but I really hope that y'all work on your loving yourself independently from others loving you. I think that's very, very important. And believing in your self-worth. Because each one of us has self-worth. What is yours? You know, that's a hard one. I think I'm still trying to find my self-worth, you know, in a lot of things. So, you know, it's not something that just falls in your lap and you go, oh yes, this is my self-worth. No, I think you have to work at it and bring it into your authentic self. And I think that happens too when you find your purpose. Because once you find your purpose of what you truly, truly want to do, you're going to start, you know, gung-ho. You're going to go for it all the way. Now, Leo and Colleen can tell you about, like, their self-purpose right now, okay? I think your self-purpose can change because it can grow into, like, a humongous thing like the universe. It doesn't just have to be one thing, but that's my opinion. Okay. But with Colleen and Leo, their self-purpose, once they realized what their self-purpose was and what they really truly wanted to do, they were gung ho. I'm gonna let Leo tell you about it. Okay.
Get the details.
Well, your details of what your self-purpose, whatever you want to share.
Okay. Well, anyway, well, to just regress just for a second. Colleen and I are involved with several things that in helping other people, and our children, if we told them the details, would say we're crazy and might even legally come after us. And so we can't let that hurt us. And that's, you know, a little difficult challenge, but we just can't let that hurt us. We're going to do our thing. And we find that in helping others, it bounces right back on them. And it makes, and that's what gives us, is giving us so much pleasure. You know, we're involved with the karaoke with the disabled people, and they're just fantastic. They just unconditional love, and we just love working with those people. And we're involved with the Shahawin's nonprofit, and we're doing a lot of work there in physical type of stuff mainly, and that's given us great pleasure. So I mean, we're top of the world, and it's, you know, and Shahawin herself with she's been pointing, and we're making choices, we're making right choices, but Shahawin, you know, give her some pointers that has been invaluable. So, and I don't think she, how can I say, takes enough credit there. It's her self-worth, yes. So anyway, and you know, we can't share a lot of things with our family, and what Shahawin says, like us sharing our phone numbers, I think that's a great idea. I'd love to have you guys' phone numbers, because we can't share things even with our own family, and that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So anyway, so I think like Rodney and I have some things in common. I could give Rodney a call sometime, just chit chat. So anyway, that's what I had.
Okay, can you share with them about how you were feeling before you found your purpose?
I was in the tar. You know, not happy, not smiling. You know, it's not about money. It's not about earthly security. It's about being happy and doing good things, making good choices. I was just blah. I can't speak for Colleen, but I speak for myself, because I was just kind of blah, not really enjoying life. So, okay, just struggling. Yeah, we were just kind of dog paddling in the water. So, yeah, so.
And we also, we get confirmation too from Spirit, which that kind of feeds the fire for both of us.
And they actually used to not recognize that this confirmation was coming from Spirit, so they film a lot in there. Because they wouldn't know that it was coming from Spirit, but they know now.
Yes, yes, no doubt about that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yes, and that gives us pleasure too. You know, it's things you can do on a day-to-day basis. Going through your checkout stand with the cashier, and you say, "You have a wonderful day," and they just kind of they step back, and then the bagger, you say, "And you too," and that's just not just words. You actually have to really mean it, like Margaret Shaw was saying. And when you really mean it, they know it. They know when you mean it. So great pleasure there.
So see, when you do find your purpose, okay, when you do find your purpose and you start implicating it into your life, as you can see, you will find a lot of joy. Joy and happiness, you know, and you'll get up with a smile on your face going, "Ooh, what's going to come to me today?" You know, because Spirit does put stuff in place to let you know, "Hey, I love you. Hey, you're going to be okay." You know, but I call them your signpost. You got to learn how to read the signs. And to be able to read the signs, you got to know yourself. And you know your self-worth, and you know how you're going to respond to things. It's just all going to click into the proper frequency, because that's what it is. It's an energy frequency. And then you're going to, you know, feel that energy, feel that love, feel that joy. Doesn't mean that sorrow and all of that won't come, because it is. It's just energy changes. So you will always have duality, because we live in duality. But when you feel that other type of energy coming in, guess what you do? You get on your surfboard and you go, "Okay, I'm gonna go surfing now because I'm in that type of energy." Where you still on your surfboard when you're with in the flow of love and everything, but you're not having to surf because it's a smooth wave, you know, so you're just kind of gliding through it. And you'll be able to recognize that if you use metaphors like that to look at yourself, just like the tree. Are you going to be the tree, or are you going to be in the roots of the water and drown? Stand up like the tree. Because, you know, even in the Bible, not that I, you know, want to throw religion in there, they used a lot of metaphors to bring about the teachings about energy and stuff like that. But one of the biggest things, I'm gonna close the class and we'll go on to questions, but one of the biggest things that is something for all of us to always remember. We are a work in progress. Okay? And if you're striving to become perfect, which a lot of us do strive to become perfect, I'm striving to become the hollow bone. Okay? That doesn't mean I'm striving to be perfect because there's nothing perfect. You're always going to be a work in progress. And you will be a work in progress until the day you take your last breath. But you're going to come in with a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. You know, you're going to have a lot of gifts. The energy is going to work with you because you have that awareness that you are a work in progress. So I want y'all to think about that and know it's okay not to be perfect, because none of us are. There'll be some people that say, oh yeah, I'm perfect, you know, but you've got to, not the you. I've got to learn how to stop doing the you thing. You will realize that the only thing perfect is the breath of life that makes us grow, makes grass grow, trees grow. That's the perfectness in it. But everything else is in the work process. And if you look at that, the trees have to grow, that's a work in process. The grass has to grow, that's a work in process. But it has a cycle pattern that it goes through. You know, cycle seasons. So it continues, it's ever, always continuing the work in process. You know, so if you become perfect, guess what? Your work would be done, right? So what would happen? Where would you go? That could be, yeah, you might just poof right on off and go, oh, I'm done, and go to my next adventure. But still, if you think you get up there, you're going to be a work in process. You know, because if you get reincarnated, you know, you want to bring reincarnation back, that's a work in process, isn't it? Because you have to go through change and everything to even come back. So everything changes. So I hope that helps y'all, you know, and I really truly want you to work on seeing your value and your self-worth and your will. Because what is your will? You know, when you can truly see your will, you can harness that energy of your will to bring in your life purpose. Kind of like what Leo and Colleen has learned how to do. And they didn't even know it was called that. But they harness their will, and they are actually getting to see it unfold. And it's amazing. But that's how I'm going to end it today. Reinvent your life by looking at your value, your self-worth. Harness your will, bring forth what you need for yourself. Okay? And try to learn that you are, let me find it on my little piece of paper here, that you love yourself independently of others loving you. Because that's very, to me, very important in your own growth process, to know that you love yourself independently from others loving you. That's your self-worth, that's your self-esteem, that's your truth that you stand on. And that's our lesson for today. So if anybody has any questions or just wants to add to it, I'm ready.
I'd have something I'd like to add or share. I used to be in relationships and I would say, you complete me. And the problem with that is when that relationship doesn't work out, you feel very incomplete and part of you is lost. And it actually brought me to very dark places, like even attempting suicide and stuff like this, because you just feel like your whole world has been pulled out from under you because you put all the eggs in one sort of basket, and realizing that we are the container that needs to, if we can't love ourselves, how are we supposed to love others? And what it took for me was several dark nights of the soul, right? I was homeless, I was living on a mountain, and I just dropped to my knees and said, Mother, you're either going to wake me up or I'm going to die. And then you see things with a whole new beauty when you don't have, because I was away from people living in the bush, and it was really important for me to have that time to see the true beauty, to see my true beauty, and to realize that I don't need others to validate who I am and my worth in society. And as far as, seeing a purpose, I see my work history. I was a computer technician. It helped me to learn stuff quick. I'd have to take stuff apart to figure out how it worked. And that helped with myself, like you reverse engineer is the word I'm looking for. And I learned how to do computer programs, which part of my self-worth is like the 43 Zoom calls I did with Susan and Win Voices. And these Zoom calls I'm doing with Shaha Win, and the editing and the uploading. And it's giving me a lot of purpose, as well as the teachings. It's like I've heard 43 wisdom holders, speakers, elders. I hear Shaha Win, who I admire so highly. And it helps, like we spoke, and it's almost like going to church. We come every week and we get refreshed and we get strengthened, and we hear things we need to hear, not what we want to hear. Like some of the lessons, they've been quite hard to swallow, but it helped to change me. There was a lesson where she spoke about, if you think this way instead. And and it broke me. I was acting like an ass. I was treating someone I love so very poorly, and it getting emotional. It helped to turn me around. It helped to see clearly. So I'm so very grateful for these classes. So very grateful for each and every one of you. Why don't everybody send me your phone number through the email, and I'll get it to each and every one of us. And that's all I want to share. And thank you, Shaha Win, for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Rodney. You do a lot too. I couldn't do this without you. You're the one, you're behind the scenes putting it all together.
Very welcome.
All right, Pam, I saw that you wanted to say something. You gotta unmute yourself though.
There I got it. Hi, honey. You go back out there. Come on, go on. I have, I found that there's a word called enmeshed. You become so involved in a person's feelings and stuff that you identify with everything they do and say, and you become dependent upon how they feel. I mean, if they feel good, you feel good. If they feel rotten, you feel rotten, That's something that I have had a really hard time with. My husband and I have been married for 40 years, and we were very enmeshed. And there are times when in recent where he is not doing as well, and he's getting older and he's having problems functioning and doing some things. And I at first was very angry at him for not being there for me, not being the person that I had always counted on to be able to share my feelings with and talk to him, about things. Now, I mean, the stress level is very high because of all the children running around and the arguments, between the children, and trying to work with attitudes that I see in the children, and I know that that's just going to bury them. I mean, I have a 16-year-old going to be 17 in October, who is ADD and has had a lot of problems, but he is so negative about life and everything that will happen, and I get caught up in these arguments sometimes with him, which I don't want to do that. I don't want to be there with that. I literally have to sometimes tell him, listen, Sammy, if you can't say anything good, don't say nothing. Please don't say anything for the next hour. If you don't say anything bad about anybody for the next hour, I'll give you $10. I mean, like, it's like, how do you get them to see things differently? Because I literally see this child drowning, in this negativity. And I thought, well, you have to have something positive to change the negative, right? So I have to work on that. But I get enmeshed with him, and I feel his feelings. I feel what he's feeling, and I know that the ache of it, and I have to like put myself back and say, listen, that's him. That's not me,
Yeah, do y'all have like family night where you do bring all the kids together and like play games or anything?
Yeah, they do. I don't always do it with them, but my son and his wife do have family times where they get together. I noticed that there is a lot more of a positive attitude when they do get together.
Yeah,
and
because
spend time.
like, does the 17-year-old, does he participate?
Sometimes, not all the times, but some of the time, yes, he does. When he can get himself in a frame of mind to do it, because he is like really, I don't want to fight with him. I mean, that's the point. I don't want to fight with him to do things. I want him to do it out of his own free will, so that he can at least feel like he has some control over his emotions. You know what I mean?
Yes, and see, because of him having ADHD, it's always been a fight over attention, the energy for attention and stuff. And so that's a pattern and a cycle that has to be broken. But I was going to suggest for like, I have found in some of my counseling that I've done in past, especially with children, that you can like do musical chairs.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to do musical chairs, right?
Yes.
Okay, take it and have the whole family be involved.
Mm-hmm.
And do your musical chairs, but always put one chair in the center of the circle.
Okay.
And whoever doesn't get a chair, in the outer ring of the circle has to sit in the center circle.
Okay.
And when they get picked to sit in the center circle, each person has to say something that they love and are proud about that person to them while they're sitting in that chair. And
Okay.
it has to go all the way around the circle. It can't be, oh, I hate you because you did this. It all has to be positive. And then they get to hear everybody that's sitting there say something nice, and that's giving attention to them, which they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna break some of the patterns off them, and then you start the musical chair thing, and eventually everybody that's sitting in that outer ring will end up sitting in the center circle and getting to hear something good about themselves. And the more that it happens, the more you will see the children doing that outside of playing musical chairs. If that makes sense. You might want
Yeah,
to.
that makes sense. Ugh. Thank you.
You're
That's a
very
good idea.
welcome.
I got my hands full, that's for sure.
Back way.
Well, it will definitely work if you want to try that. And it's fun at the same time. Because they won't understand it. They'll just think it's a game. So they'll go through it really fast and go, well, I like your shoes. They look good on you. But they have to say something like that that will bring up the person's, self-worth. And it can really work. But they'll think it's just a game.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, I have a little something.
All
Oh,
right.
sorry. Jerry, you want to go first? When you said, let someone else bring a piece of the puzzle into your existence, really, really hit me. And I thought that was wonderful. And with the, that I love me independent of you loving me.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of put those two together. And I think sometimes when someone says something to you, you first think, oh, you're being the trickster. I don't like what you're saying. And it hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the first response sometimes, right?
Right.
So you have to kind of discern who is being the trickster. Is that person being the trickster, or is that person telling you a truth? Are they coming from truth? So sometimes you have to balance, okay, am I supposed to learn this and take it in? And how do I immerse that into my situation and make a change in my life if I need to? Or is it someone that is coming from not such a good place and coming at me? And sometimes I think that's hard because I want to hear what people are saying. So I have to say to myself, well, wait a minute, let spirit help you with this. And don't react immediately. And that's kind of where I'm in right now, is like with my daughter, is like she comes off and says stuff and I go, that hurt. I don't know why you said that to me, or whatever. And then I have to say, oh, well, maybe she's right. So I have to balance that, but it takes a little time sometimes. And how do we ever get to that point where, oh, yes, I hear you. I take that in,
Actually, you do. Yeah, when you can get to the point where you realize that you're not taking ownership on what they have told you, but you're looking at it, because that's how they see it. That's their emotions about it. But if you add an emotion, your own emotion to it, then that's when you're really going to have to deal with it. You see what I'm saying? So if you take the ownership and the emotion out of it and just look what they have said, you'll be able to get through it a lot easier. But because we have been patterned, conditioned, all of that to identify on a personal and emotional level with somebody that we're talking to. And for you with Jess, she's your best friend, and she is also one of your main supporters in your support group right now. Okay, and so when you do that, when you have a thought, and I do this, you know, me and you've talked about the things that go on with Brandy and me. You know, when you cannot agree with what they're saying about you, but you have to look and go, am I like that? In their perspective, you have to understand that everybody perceives stuff differently. And it also depends on how much in awareness and discernment they have. Are they working on themselves like you're working on you? You know, and that brings in unconditional love too, to that person when you realize that they might not be where you're at in your understanding of things. But that's when you can come and not allow it to offend you.
That's where I want to be at.
But you can change it, because you'll be able to say, well, you know, if I did this in this way, then it would not create that emotion for her. You know what I'm saying? Where she would be talking to you about it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like walking on the eggshells sometimes, because you know, because everybody has feelings. But trust me, a spirit will, if you start learning your self-worth, your value, and harnessing your will and standing on your truth, and not taking on other people's emotions when they're talking to you, because that's their energy and their emotions on how they feel about things, you're going to be able to get through it a lot easier. You know, and you know, I'm not going to go into the detail, you know, but what me and you were talking about, you know, 2 days ago, which took place in my family, you know, and it hurt me really bad. Okay. And I could still be wallowing in that hurt right now, right? That could have really took me down into a pit of tar, let me just tell you. But I knew that I was actually growing in my value and my self-worth, because I realized those weren't my emotions.
Okay.
Those were how others felt about me. And the only way that it was really going to take me down into the tar was for me to own that. Was I like that in my 20s and 30s? Well, yes, but that's not the person I am today. And that's how I got out of it. Now, I don't know if that's how you're going to get out of it, because you have to find your own, you know, you have to find your truth in it. But for me, that's how I did it. And I didn't take ownership over on how they felt. But I did struggle with it for like 2 to 3 days, because it was wanting to take me down into the tar pit where I could get stuck, but I brought myself up through my value and my self-worth. And I know that I'm not that person anymore. And that's in the past. You cannot change the past. You can only change what is taking present in this moment.
Right. I did like the statement of let somebody else bring a piece to your puzzle.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing, because that is what we all do for each other. That's awesome.
I got a piece of my puzzle the other day, right?
Yeah. And I did too.
Okay, now think about it. Was it the type of, was it the piece that I wanted to come? Oh, it was an ugly piece, but it fit right in, didn't it? And that's about what we're talking about here is, you know, when you can accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
Not allow it to take you down into the tar, because That is not who you are today. Did it happen in the past? Yes. The only way it'll happen today is if you let yourself get stuck in the emotional garbage.
Okay. Right. Okay.
It's a
Good
big
point.
lesson, really. It's a big awareness. And when you see that ugly piece coming and it goes bloop and it clicks in, and you go, oh, I don't want to go through this.
Right.
Well, it's your choice on how you're going to go through it. You know, and when you're, and that's your will, that's harnessing your will. Okay. Did it take me down? It took me back about 3 days, you know, but I didn't really go down very far. And I was very proud of myself in a way, because it could have took me to the pits of hell. That's all I could say, you know, because it was not a pretty thing. But those weren't even my emotions. They were somebody else's. And so that's, when you learn that, you can really get out of it a lot quicker.
Right. I'm seeing that now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of y'all that are on here don't understand what me and Elizabeth are talking about, but and I don't want to, you know, say it all on the Zoom class and stuff, but there was an ugly thing that happened about three days ago to me. And I'll just say it's the past will come and bite you in the ass. Okay, because what you put out does come back to you. Now, you might not get it until you're 90 years old. It might not come back and bite you in the ass until you're 90, but it's going to come back, because that circle, you come full circle in everything you do. And so that piece come back. and that piece I was not ready for, but I accepted that, and I put it, you know, when it clicked right into my puzzle piece of putting, you know, my life back together, and owning the things that I've done, but not holding on to them. Because
Right.
yes,
Yeah. Don't hold on.
I did some things in the past that I cannot change, but also I know I did them. At that time, it was the best choice at the time for me. Now, was that choice a good choice? Well, no, it wasn't, because I didn't have anybody in my life to guide me. So I was like flopping around like a fish out of water, going, well, let me try this, let me try that. And guess what? It was all wrong. You know, there's proper ingredients to put into a pie when they're trying to cook it. You know, but, you know, you learn from your mistakes. But you don't have to live in it today. That's in the past. And that, you know, that's a good way to just show people, I guess. You know. So I hope that helps you, Elizabeth.
It does absolutely help.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sherry, how are you doing? You're very quiet.
Just taking it all in. I have my logical response to everything, and then I have my emotional response. The things that are gurgling up and stuff. And I found that logically now it helps to be able to see that where I am now and where my strengths are because of situations that were uncomfortable in the past. Like, I was always different, so I was always became a loner kind of thing. Like I had a friend here or there, but never like a constant. So, and even when I had a support, they either, got married, had a relationship that took them away, or it would be I'm warring with that person or disagreeing with the person who I went to for support, or that was my person I would share my feelings with, being it a partner or child that's becoming an adult. And so I believe in that way it's become our gifts. And it's this is logical stuff first. And so we can share these gifts with others and help ourselves. And the more I noticed giving myself self-care, I've been able to put up more healthy boundaries. And I feel like it started there. Like, okay, well, other people can do this. So what are they doing for themselves? The self-care has been able to make me understand how healthy boundaries are, and that's okay to say, to have those boundaries, because with the boundaries, you don't want to say no to people you love, because then you think that they won't want to be around anymore. And that's where it's challenging, because you love them and you love yourself, and you don't want to set yourself. I've heard this that says, don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And that one hit me really hard and really deep, because I've bent over backwards for people, and I've given, the shirt off my back, and, I've helped people on the side of the road. And it's never about, oh, okay, let me show it off on social media kind of thing. It's not, I humbly say, there's not much that makes me separate from somebody. And so that's been a thing that I've noticed, but I still have, like what you were sharing with Elizabeth, that was hitting with me, because I'm warring, let's say, with someone close to me, and not sure like which way to go with that. So let's say birthing an adult it's harder than birthing children, but and so even though there's those illogical things, there's that stuff that putting our own, being a giver, putting the boundary there makes it sound like, no, I don't love you, but it's saying, it's not that I don't love you. I love myself enough to not allow it. And so for some people it comes so naturally, and I admire that of them. But it's been a real work in progress for me because of things I've went through growing up. So just allowing myself and trying to strengthen my meditation. And another thing I've felt that's made a difference is having a person or people outside of a personal relationship that we can talk to. That's why I love these classes, because outside of like a partner kind of say, even though that you can have a very healthy partner, but sometimes we need perspective outside of that, or outside our children. But I feel like there's been a lot of isolation, and I've heard that isolation is good for us to grow, but I'm like, feel like I'm a giant. I'm going to be a giant about 90 feet tall already. So, but no, I feel like there's stuff gurgling and bubbling up in me too.
I always call them growing pains. We're all in growing pains. And we're all, growing at different aspects within ourselves. And you're doing good, really. And you need to, you need people to let you know that too, because you need to hear that.
Yeah, because sometimes we hear someone who's angry with us going through things, and it's not always crystal clear how to be there for someone else you love and hold space for them when they're verbally spewing things on you or saying stuff to you. I see them as like maybe an injured dog you run to on the street where they need the help, but they snap at you.
Yes, and it's very hard. It's very hard, and that's when you can get taken down into the tar pit and getting stuck.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be hard and feathered, so I'm.
Yeah, so the biggest thing, which would probably help is if you can be aware that those are their feelings and not yours, and not respond, not have a response to it, you'll be able to get through it a lot easier without getting stuck in the tar. But it's hard because some of those things that they'll spout out at you will hurt your feelings. But you have to, you need to look and say, is this a past feeling? Did this come from the past? Or is this a present moment feeling? Is this a new feeling that's just arising within me? Because if it's a past feeling from the past, then you need to leave it in the past.
I know
you're not in the past anymore.
But I don't know if it's a past feeling from them.
Well, for you, it's not a past feeling for them, or they wouldn't be bringing it up. You see what I'm saying? It's still in the present moment for them. But for you, if you can realize that that's a past emotion and you're not holding on to that anymore, then you'll be able to rise above that and be able to help them get out of the tar better. Because you're not being pulled into it by taking the ownership of how you felt in the past, because that's not who you are in the present moment. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Like this might be a feeling from last week. You mean like the present, like today waking up, I don't feel like that. Maybe I felt like it last week and I'm still holding on to it.
Yes. Because guess what? You're not supposed to really hold on to anything, because you have a new day every day. That's why the sun comes up and the sun goes down. And that's why that saying is, don't ever go to bed angry. Always forgive your spouse and everything. Because guess what? As soon as that sun goes down, that day's done. You will never, ever be able to repeat that day again. Because it's gone. And when you can actually really see that, why would you hold on to something that happened on a day that's gone, that's never going to happen again? You see what I mean? Because we create our day. Every day we create it. And through our own emotions, you're going to put, sadness, anger. You're going to put all that in it, depending on how you react to things. Or you're going to bring a lot of sunshine into your life and say, I got sunshine on a cloudy day. Because that's what happens. You bring sunshine in, or it could be a rainy day and you'd be out there with the umbrella going, singing in the rain. I'm just singing in the rain. Well, because it is a perspective on how you perceive things. And I love y'all, but we got to get off here because the guitar people are ready to get in their room. We're in the guitar room now. And so they're getting ready to have their guitar class. So I got to get off of here. I love y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this lesson. And I'll see you next week. And give everybody, y'all give Robbie all your telephone numbers so we can make a list so we'll have everybody's number. All right? Love y'all. Oh, Robbie, say the prayer, please.
Father Sky, Mother Earth, all our ancestors, all our relatives, we thank you so very, very much for the circle that you've allowed us to step inside. We ask that you now close this circle and you bless each and every one of us for this week. We ask that you help us to realize our divinity and how at our core we are love. Help us to feel that love, help that love to bubble out of us so it affects others and other people feel that joy that you allow us to experience during these classes and these moments of sharing and these moments of vulnerability. We thank you for Shahawin's wisdom and her words and the teachings. We ask that we apply these words to our lives. We ask that each and every day we're just a little bit better, just a little bit closer to you and just a little more divine in every way that we approach and deal with things. We thank you for the rain in our lives, for without the dark moments, we wouldn't be able to grow. We thank you for the realization that we need the light and we need the dark, we need the sun and we need the clouds and in our lives to help us to have the contrast that help us to see when the sun is shining, how bright and beautiful it does feel. We thank you for this day. We ask you watch over each and every one of us throughout this week. Bless us with a good week. We love you. Thank you. Aho.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week. See you next week.